no longer worthless. Now I know.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Hey, it's your girl Markia Janae, and welcome to Soulful Stimulation right here on IntellectualRadio.com. Now, y'all, I gotta tell you, I am coming off of a weekend high. And no, it's not the high from like drugs or anything illegal like that, but it's a high that comes from accomplishment, right? It's a high from having a goal set, having my priorities in line. And it's the high that when you have that goal in mind and you're laser focused on achieving it, it happens. Now, this high right here, it came with prioritizing myself and prioritizing what I wanted to do. It was like Bobby Brown when he said, "It's my prerogative," right? I do what I want to do. It's my prerogative. And just like that, that's what I did. I ran the Chicago Marathon, y'all. And that's 26.2 miles through 20 neighborhoods here in Chicago. And that took dedication. That took prioritizing. That took saying no to a lot of things I would have probably said yes to.
That's right.
Now, tonight's show, it's all about priorities. And trust and believe they matter. You may think that they don't, but they matter. All right. So just like Bobby Brown, it's time to realize it's my prerogative. It's time for you to realize it's your prerogative. Whatever you want to do, set your mind to it and do it. Make that decision. So I have with me tonight Della Major, aka the Game Changer. And I mean, she changes the game in every room that she steps into. If you know her, she's a ball of energy. She's a motivator. She encourages, she inspires, she speaks and teaches. She is just all in all a phenomenal woman. And she knows about priorities. She knows the importance of them and how being in alignment with God will change your life. Now, I want to welcome to Soulful Stimulation right here on Intellectual Radio, none other than Della Game Changing Major.
All right. So welcome to Intellectual Radio, you guys. I am so excited to be back here one more time with that wonderful person, Markia Janae. Look, let me tell you this. I followed you from the point that you started off from the starting line all the way to the finish line. I wanted you to know you had some support, even though we was not down there physically, but you had support all the way throughout the race, all the way through. And we wanted to encourage you and empower you. And even on those last couple of miles, so we wanted to send you out that little encouragement and power saying, you got it, you can do it, press forward. And to see the reward,
right,
girl,
here, baby. Bling,
that's
bling.
what we're talking about. I'm so excited that you even invited me back here again to talk about prioritizing and just talk about, setting our priorities. Remember, we did talk about Bobby Brown, where you said it's my prerogative.
Yeah, it's my prerogative.
Right.
That's it. That's
so
it.
We're
gonna
be talking about not only things that's our prerogative, but we're gonna talk about setting priorities like never before. And just in case for those who don't know me, I am Della Major, aka the Game Changer. Where I'm actually empowering and changing the lives of individuals to have a mindset of transformation and change, where we basically is trying to help you to change and be a healthier you. Where? From the inside out. That is what we are talking about today. Talking about setting those priorities that's going to basically allow you to be able to accomplish the things that God has intended for you to accomplish and not get distracted with things that bring you no value. So Markia, I'm really excited about what we're going to talk about today. So again, thank you for allowing me to come on.
Thank you for coming on. And I love your intro. I love how you give your taglines, and I'm ready to rock out. So first things first, now we're talking about it's my prerogative, right? It's my prerogative. And so when you hear that term, my prerogative, what comes to mind to you? Like, what's that initial when someone says it's my prerogative?
My choice, my decision.
All right.
It's not about what somebody else say. It's about what I say, what I choose to want to do. Because it's a lot of people that would tell you how you should act, how you should speak, what you should say, what you should do, how you should dress. But the reality is, as he was saying in his song, I'm choosing to be who I am.
Who I
You
want
know,
to
because
be.
a lot of people don't tell me to shut my mouth many times before.
They say, "Girl, you talk too much. You need to calm
They don't tell me
down."
to talk too much. They say you just too wild. You out
Okay.
there. You know, you need to tone it down. Now, before I tone it down, I'm gonna turn it up.
And that's what I'm saying. You got to turn up, because
That's-
why you gonna turn down for? You were created to turn up, right?
Right. I was created to be radical. It took me a minute though for me to understand this is who I am.
To harness it.
To harness it. That's a perfect word.
To harness it.
Because, you know, a lot of times when you're dealing with low self-esteem or
Mhm.
self-esteem issues, you allow yourself to get trapped up by other people's ideologies about you. And so
Mhm.
you really don't know it's your prerogatives. You really don't know how to set those priorities, you know, because you leaning on other people's ideologies about you.
So for you, and you can correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
go right on here.
So what I'm hearing you say is other people's ideologies. You were taking on or developing your identity essentially based off of someone else's thoughts about you.
Exactly.
So you never really, in the early parts of your life, because you've made the decision now, but at first you did not make the decision to say, this is how I want to live my life. Now, was that because you didn't know how to live your life, or you felt that someone else's life was, you know, worth more, like attaining in comparison to your life? What was that, I guess, light bulb moment where you clicked and said, no, I don't care what they say about me. I don't care if they think I'm crazy. I don't care if they say whatever they say about me. I'm choosing this day to be Della Major. I'm choosing this day to be the game changer. So what was that shifting moment for you to say, this is my life, this is my prerogative, and these are the priorities I'm going to take for myself?
You know, everything started always from the foundation that's been laid. And even the last time when I was on here, one of the things I was sharing with everybody was the individual that should have been imparting to me that I can be a go-getter, that I can achieve the goals in my life that I should have, was my mom. But instead of she imparting that into me, she would speak those negative words, you know, saying what I was not going to become and how I was going to be just like her on public assistance, not striving for anything. And, you know, it took my high school counselor to sort of kind of set the path and the tone for me to understand that I was an atmosphere changer, that I was somebody special. But even then, it was important for me to have people's acceptance of me. So that means if I did, you know, I told you I was radical.
Right.
So I was out there joining the gang for whatever reason, just so I could find that acceptance, right?
Right.
So then when I was in high school at Western House Vocational High School, go Warriors, Warriors in the house. When I was at the Western House, it used to be these two tiers of type of individuals. You had the light skin and you had the dark skin and you had the middle.
Okay.
You had the ends, you had the outs, and then you had the others. And I always had the mindset that I was part of the others because nobody really drew no attention to me. So I allowed those who was the inside crowd to define me,
who you were as a person.
who I was as a person, so I could be somewhere. Either I was going to be in the inside crowd or I was going to be over here. But I did not want to be the other. Okay.
But what's wrong with being the other?
Oh, see, at that time,
what was wrong at that time with being the other? Because when I think about being the other, that's being unique. That's being one of the kind. That's okay. You may not want me now, but I'm that diamond in the rough. Like, what was wrong with being the other?
You was in the other at the house. You get drugged down on the ramp, all that stuff. You would be the one that everybody picked on, everybody talked about, everybody ridiculed. And then you sooner or later, you decide you don't want to receive that ridicule. I'm already getting rejection and abandonment at home. So who wants to get rejection and abandonment at school? Okay. Nobody, right? So I wanted to be in one of those crowds. I was going to be in the end, I was going to be the out, or I was going to be the other. And I chose to be on the end. So I started allowing the in crowd just to say and have me do things that reality they were not doing. Okay. I didn't find that out. It did not change for me, Markia, until I actually had my first child.
Okay.
Because now I was no longer not that person that relied on what other people say. I have somebody now in my life
that relied on you.
That relied on me. So all of my energy and everything about me was really focused on her. You know, so that became my priority. My priority was my words like, look, this child didn't actually be brought into this world. So I got to be the person to take care of her. So everything about me focused strictly on raising my child.
You needed to be who she needed you to be
That's
in that
it.
moment.
I needed her to be, I needed to be the person she needed me to be, but then she didn't realize that she was helping me to become that person I needed to be.
And that's amazing how we can have life experiences
Mhm.
to actually shape us and
Yeah.
who we're called to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes an impact that comes out of nowhere to say, this is why
Yeah.
I called you.
Yep.
Because it's that wake up moment. But you
Mhm.
said something that made me think about being the other and the rejection, right? And so
Mhm.
I wrote down this question: do we set our priorities because of fear and rejection? Do we set them because we're afraid of the no if we don't do what this other person asks us to do? Because a lot of times when we set priorities, we may not be setting them for ourselves.
Exactly.
We're setting them because it's this unspoken, this individual needs
Exactly.
me to do it, or they have the clout and I want to be in their circle. So I'm going to make them a priority. So when setting the priorities, are we setting them because of rejections and fear? Is that something
Is that the question?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
a question.
Let's talk about it. Yes, because culture, even culture as we speak today, defines what's happening
Mhm.
as we move. You know what I'm saying? As we live in this life. If society say this is what's acceptable, you don't want to be on the out. You want to be, part of what the society was, what we classify as the norm.
The norm
Okay.
of society.
Who wants to be on the out on the norm? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of our decisions is predicated on that no, that abandon, that rejection, and the fear. Because the fear comes in when you say, oh, man, if I do something contrary to what the norm is, then I'm not part of the no. And being part of the no means I'm just not, you know, I'm just not it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when you don't want, who wants to be just not it? But see, that's that false sense of reality.
Okay.
That's that fear.
The fear. False sense of, right.
That's that false sense of reality. Because remember, we said fear is the acronym false evidence appearing real.
Yes,
so
yes.
just in the case, as we don't know, that false evidence appearing real is that false sense of reality. You trying to be part of the Joneses. You trying to be part of the culture, which is the norm. And in African American communities, many times over, we trying to follow the status quo.
And a lot of times we think we're setting the status quo.
And a lot of times we think we are, but we're not.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'm this trendsetter, I'm the cultural setter, but in actuality, we've been programmed to think a certain way, to buy a certain product. And that's something, and this is it might be a little off topic, but that's what media companies do. They capitalize off of the African Americans because when something comes into our hand, into our possession, we monetize it.
That's it.
I mean, we make it grow. You would think, what was it? It's just stuff that we would have that would be basic, that we would do. Someone else will see it and steal it.
Yep.
And now it's the hottest rage.
It's
but it's like the cornrows.
Baby.
Weren't fashionable until the Kardashians started rocking them. We've been rocking cornrows
for a long time. Come on, people. Are you feeling me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It takes somebody, what they classify as part of the norm or in the know, for things that we've been doing naturally now to get the status. Like, for example, we already know bell bottom pants.
Okay.
We already know the platform shoes. Our heels changed. The way how we wear the multicolored lips and the way we wear our hairs and all of that stuff, when it became part of the culture norm. But instead of us now accepting our own culture, which is what we say, our natural hair, our beauty,
right?
Who we are.
It's just now coming into being fashionable and acceptable.
Exactly. So when we talk about prioritizing, we, sometimes we can allow the culture norms to come inside, but then we need to be able to exercise those disciplines that allows us to be able to say, you know what, that might be good for you. And that might be good for them. But for me, this is how I'm going to choose to be who I am. I remember, I had my hair. My hair was very long. I mean, it was like past my shoulder length. Nobody knew at that time, back in 2004, I was going through chemotherapy for lupus and trying to squash the lupus down, because that's when I very first time heard about it. So what my hairstylist chose and opted to do was to cut my hair in phases to the point that I knew that the lupus was going to start, the chemotherapy was going to
Take
my,
place.
you had to take my hair out. So we started cutting in phases. So every time I would have my hair done, it would be cut shorter and shorter. To one time, it was like a Nita Baker hairstyles cut short. And somebody literally out of nowhere came up and put their hands through my head like this and said, you must be having a war with your hair.
Wow.
Okay.
Not a war with
Yes, a war with your hair. Why? Is because the cultural norm was long black hair, long hair down your shoulder, something where, you know, the men look for us to have. So
that superficial standard of beauty.
Exactly. Nobody asked the question. The person didn't ask the question what was going on, you know, because every time they saw it, they just saw my hair get shorter and shorter. But to take their hands and put it in my hair and say, I'm having a war with my hair, you know, was it at that time, should I say, no, I'm just going through chemotherapy to be smart? No. I figured it's like, no, this is my hair. But I want to thank one person who helped me out with that.
Who was that?
And that was Donna Barnett.
Nice.
Oh my God. Because she used to wear her hair short. And she used not only wear her hair short, but she wear her hair with color. And she pulled me to the room. She said, you be who you are supposed to be. That was another defining moment. But if you want to wear your hair short, wear your hair short. You want to wear your hair in colors, wear your hair in color. Just be who you are. And I needed that affirmation. I needed that word of encouragement because I was feeling somewhat subconscious about it. But that's what you need in your life. You need somebody who's going to say, hey, I accept you for you, not for your hair, not for your colors, not for your shoes, but accept you for you. If this is what you want to do, it's your prerogative.
So that's the part, and it sounds like you were doing these gradual steps. You were making these gradual changes because of the fear that comes with it, because of the backlash that comes with it, and that's part of it is other people's perception of you. So it's like, okay, in order for me to be accepted, in order for me to stay in this norm, I'm just going to do the gradual changes, little by little,
and that's exactly what
step by step. So it's not as noticeable.
Yes.
So when I finally do make the big chop, when I finally do say, okay, this is what I'm going through, you are essentially preparing people on how to accept you.
Yeah.
You were preparing them, not even knowing what you were going through. Even the steps to take to cut your hair.
Yep.
That was the first sign of putting yourself first.
Yes.
For your mental health.
Yes.
Because if you just would have did that big chop and everything gone, then you're going to get all the questions at once.
Exactly.
Versus, okay, I'm gradually, okay, I'm cutting my hair. I'm changing my diet.
Yes.
You know, I'm getting things in order. These gradual steps that no one ever notices.
Right.
In order for you to make the big leap of, okay, this is where I'm at now. I'm going through chemo.
But you want to know something, Markia? Just even hearing you say it, all of those phases I went through, and I still got.
You still got the ridicule at the end. So that's why, look, to our intellectual radio audience.
Yes.
To all who are watching on Facebook and YouTube.
Right now.
That's why it's so important to take hold of your prerogative.
That's it.
Take hold of who you are.
Yes.
Take hold of what your priorities are.
That's it.
Because no one can live this life except for you. It doesn't matter who is coming for you, who's has you under attack. When you make up in your mind what you want to do, you stick to it until you get it done.
That's it.
You have to see yourself on the other side of it.
That's it, Markia. That's it.
Like, and I know it was going through that process of going through the chemo, cutting your hair, going through lupus, going through dialysis. I mean, if you know this woman's story, she's gone through so much
including suicide.
Right, to get to this point of being the game changer, the motivator that she is today. But she had to put herself first. And that's all about priorities. That's what we're talking about. Making yourself a priority and not caring what anyone else says about it. Yes, other people are going to have things to say. Yep. Yes, they're going to give you a to-do list.
Yep.
They're going to give you a to-do list that's not even your list.
You a to-do list.
Right. When you have your own list of things that you need to do.
That's it. And you know what? You just said something very, very key right there. each one of us are unique.
Right.
God created us individually unique. I was created to be that radical person that can go about making a radical change.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I learned as I was going through the processes of me even finally identifying who I am and creating my own identity, it did create such a major radical change.
Mm-hmm.
That means people who I thought really was for me, they were not
You
for
found
me.
out they weren't.
They really
Come
wasn't.
on now. When you start making
Okay.
decisions for yourself,
Okay.
some people gonna fall to the wayside.
Exactly. The moment I made the decision after I had my second daughter that, look, if I can't bring my child, I just can't be out there being wild.
Yeah.
Because, when you had the first child, you sort of kind of rebel. When I got, had my, became a mother to two children, then all of those things that I called myself thinking I was doing, being crazy and still acting wild with my first child, I just set that stuff to the side.
Yeah.
So as soon as I made the decision to put my children, now not children,
right?
then all of a sudden, oh, you can't go nowhere. You just ain't fun no more. You just don't do. I was like, are you for real? I first sacrificed my relationship with my first daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I made the decision now I was going to be a mom.
Yeah.
Being a
Motherhood.
mom became more important to me than being a wow. Because, I had that name, Heavy D.
Right. That's what I was going to say. Like, you went from being Heavy D to Mommy. Okay.
To Mommy. And Heavy D was not the fact that I was big, you guys. Heavy D, right here, I'm telling the truth on IntellectualRadio.com on Soulful Stimulation. It was not because I was heavy. I was wild and, yeah.
Just leave
I was
there.
out there. Just leave it there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never know. Somebody might be sitting there trying to figure out, like, oh, that's the person I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I've been looking for her for the last 35 years.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But the reality behind this is that when I made the decision to put my children first, then those people that was in my inner circle, what I believe is my inner circle, it's just so amazing how they just cut me out.
They fall apart.
And so here you go again, that phase of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm trying to justify the end behind the means, and I'm still trying to be mom, but I'm still trying to justify why did these friends that I thought I have, abandon me? Because now, before it was rejection, now here come abandonment. I already had rejection and abandonment somewhat of my mother and my dad somewhat. Now I got rejection and abandonment of my friends, people that
your circle,
thought, was going to be there for me. So you can imagine the mental capacity that was going on. It's like I'm dealing with fear, dealing with rejection. So all those changes that was happening to me, I internalized. So what people were seeing on the outside was not the authentic Della. It was somebody that was made up.
That you created.
That I created just so that I could make sure that I had somebody versus nobody.
It's a protection mechanism.
It was a definite protection mechanism.
And that's how sometimes our personal priorities can be skewed because we're so busy trying to protect ourselves from the unknown. So we succumb to what other people think of us. We take on other personality traits. We take on other interests that don't even belong to us.
That's it.
Something that wasn't even a part of the DNA that God placed into us. Yeah. Something that puts us out of alignment with God's will. And that puts us in a lukewarm place.
That's it. Lukewarm is mediocre,
but beneath, under
everything.
Yeah. So and the thing is, when we have a call on our lives, and each and every one of us, we have a call.
Yes,
we can't be lukewarm.
We cannot.
You have to be hot or cold.
That's what the word says.
You have to be hot or cold, because if you're lukewarm,
what he say,
he gonna spit you out.
There it is.
He's going to spit you out. So it's better to be hot or cold, whatever you're going to be.
Choose ye this day.
And so that's why it's so important to set the priority.
You have to.
And so I want to kind of get to how we set priorities. Like, what's that first step when you said, all right, this day, I'm putting all these old things behind me. This day, I'm going to be known as the game changer.
Yes.
What was the first priority that you had to set?
I had to learn who I was.
Okay.
Identity. I had to learn my true identity.
Okay.
I had to accept who God created me to be.
Mm-hmm.
See, in Psalms 139 said that I was beautifully and wonderfully made.
Yes.
And when I learned that everything about me was not a mistake, Everything about me was planned. It was beautiful. From my hair, from my hands to my shape, to the talk, to my walk. Everything about me was already a designer's original, was God's divine
Yes.
plan. Because why? It's setting me up for where I have to go, for whom I have to encourage and empower, and for what I have to do. He
Mhm.
created me to be steadfast. He created me to be unmovable. He created me to be radical. But he also
Yes.
created a tender heart so I could show true and sincere love. Because, sometimes people say what they are. But what I was, when I called you friend, I was a friend.
Right. You were true to
I
the
was true
meaning.
to the meaning of the word friend, because of the fact that I believe that you was like family. The word friend to me was meant family.
Family.
So if I
Mhm.
called you friend, there was nothing I could not do. So you can imagine how I was feeling at that time when my friend, who I believe was my family in my mindset, just alienated
Yeah, they
me,
rejected
rejected
you.
me, right?
Yeah.
So first thing I had to learn me, my own identity, but to love me. I had to love me for being me.
That's key. So to our IntellectualRadio.com audience, listen to that. She said she had to identify
Yep.
who she was,
Who I was.
who God created her
That's
to be.
it.
And my scripture for that is Jeremiah 29.
Mhm.
He knows the thoughts and the plans that he has for us.
Yes.
So she had to identify who she was.
Yep.
And she only got that from the creator, because the one who creates you is the
That's
only
it.
one who can identify you, because he's already written your
Yes.
manuscript. But then another key thing when it comes to setting your priorities, you have to love yourself
Gotta
first.
love yourself first.
Because if you do not love yourself first,
That's it.
you're going to put someone above
There it
you.
is.
You're not going to know how to love anybody else.
That's it.
Because we teach other people how to love us by the love we show to ourselves.
That's so
So
good.
if we don't make ourselves a priority,
Yes.
then the person that comes into your life, whether it's a significant other, as such as a husband, a wife,
Right.
a spouse,
Right.
or a boyfriend, girlfriend, a friend, platonic friend, they're not going to know how
That's
to
it.
love you. They're
That's
not
it.
going to know how to treat you.
That's it.
So when it comes to priorities, first identify who you are, why you were created, and who you're called to be. But secondly, you have to love yourself and know how
That's
to
it.
love yourself.
That's
So
it.
what was next for you?
For me, not only did I first have to identify who I was, who God created me to be, I had to love myself. Second thing, I had to really change from the inside out. That means the third thing or the second thing, I had to change my mindset.
Yes.
Because God was already telling me who he created me to be. He was already letting me know through his word, I created you this way. He told me, this as clear as I'm talking to you. He said, Della, the devil desired to sift you as wheat, but I have prayed for you. And when thou shalt recover, strengthen thy brother. And so when I understood that, that's what let me know that in Romans 12:1 and 2, it told me by the renewing of my mind. I had to renew my mind.
Yep.
Once I renew my mind, then I had to present myself unto God. Because see, first I had to not only love me, but I had to accept myself to love him the way he loved me.
Yes.
I could not love nobody else if I didn't understand who he loved me. So I had to accept the fact that everything I went through was for a reason.
That's key. And I love that, because when I came into the point of really accepting me and identifying who I was as Marquia Janae, that Romans 12, boy, I tell you, that was my go-to, because it was a constant every day.
Yes.
Renew your mind.
Renew your mind.
And sometimes it wasn't every day, it was every moment when I felt like I was going back to the old ways or things that were beneath me, or that I was succumbing to that meant me no good.
Yeah.
I had to constantly say, no, you are a new creature. Renew your mind. Fix your mind on the things that you want. I really had to see myself.
That's it.
I had to see myself where I wanted to be, not where I was currently at.
That's right.
Because sometimes we can be in a state and we're not exactly where we want to be, and there's a place that we want to get to, but you can get so comfortable in that state or in that mess or whatever that circumstance may be, that you're unable to see who God sees and see yourself where you need to be. And so I want to ask you, and this is to our IntellectualRadio.com audience.
Yeah.
Can you see yourself? Can you see yourself?
That's it. Ask that
And
question.
where do you see yourself? Because if you cannot see yourself,
Then
you will not go anywhere.
anywhere.
You're going to remain
Stay
stagnant.
stagnant.
You're going to be in this place of contention and
Yes,
frustration
that's it, Markia.
until you are able to truly see
That's it.
yourself. You can't go beyond what you can't see. So until you can see it,
That's it.
you won't be able to go beyond it. And when you see it, you have to think about those things. It's the renewing of the mind that Della is speaking about.
And see, in addition to the renewing of mind, you got to give and set your priority where that you are giving God the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to talk to you, to allow him to direct you, to mold you, and to actually help you to see yourself with those opportunities and possibilities.
Yes.
All he has for us is opportunities and possibilities. And see, for such a long time, I had, inserted into myself, the word I'm trying to think of, I can't think of right now, but I absorbed, thank you. I
Yes.
absorbed so much negativity, so much of what people were saying, so many ideals that they was placing on me to the point that all I had in me was that. But I had to take the moment to spend time with God, not only through his word, but just that intimate time to allow him to help me to regurgitate all the negative stuff out, and then fill me up with those affirmations that says, I am somebody.
Yeah.
I am beautifully and wonderfully made. I'm more than a conqueror. I am loved. I'm beyond love. I'm created in his image and everything about him is perfect. So that means I'm perfect in my own ways, in my own skin. This black is beautiful. Hey, the black and the berry, the sweetest do. I got it going on. I mean, I had to say that I'm a game changer. And I had to say to myself that there's nothing. I'm living my life victorious and
That's
power.
it.
I had to start saying those things before I didn't say them. Because I was allowing somebody else to dictate.
You're allowing someone else to speak into you.
That's it.
So if you missed that, she said something very key. She had to purge.
I had to purge.
It's almost like someone who, and I hate to use this example, but it's what comes to my head, who's bulimic. And so if you know anything about bulimic or anorexia, they will eat to the point where they get sick. And they look at themselves and they're disgusted. So they have to purge. They have to vomit. They have to get it out of their system.
That's it.
And so that's what happens when we take in so much from other people, when we take in the negative connotations that people say about us, when we take in what action someone did to us. And this can stem, and we talk about it a lot on this show, from past trauma, from past hurt, from things we don't even realize. And even before we were born, we might have been taking in things that kind of get us off track or off of alignment. So you have to go through that purging process. But not only did Della purge, she got an infilling. It ain't nothing like the infilling of the Holy Ghost.
Ooh, girl, do you not understand me?
There's an infilling that comes forth. So when we're setting priorities, we're looking at identity. We're looking at our self-love, love for ourselves. We're looking at renewing of the mind. How do you see yourself? Can you see yourself?
Looking at the purge.
Yeah. And then we're purging the things that are not like us, the things that we don't want in our lives. And then we're getting an infilling of what is good, what is blessed, what is kind. And so those are just some of the steps. So, but there's more to that.
Oh yeah.
It's more to it when we're going through this setting priorities for ourselves.
Right. So once you go through the purge, then you empty, right?
Right. You empty.
So you're empty. So now you're allowing God now to begin you anew. And that beginning you anew is like, what is my next step, Lord? What is the first thing that I need to do to begin to start, not only start again, but to be better than I was before?
Yeah.
Okay.
That part.
So that comes down with a plan. Okay. That plan process is you setting down, you're allowing Holy Spirit to direct that plan. That means you now setting, what is it that I want to achieve in maybe 2 months, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years? What is it, that one thing I wanted to do? I always wanted to do, but I never felt that I can be able to do it. It's always been in you. There's something great on the inside of you, but you won't know it if you're so filled with everything else. So when you talk about once you clean, you got to set your plan. You got to set those goals. That means after this 1 month time, this is where I see myself. I want to become.
Achievable goals.
Achievable
Smart goals.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then after that, you move forward, because what happens is they are called mini wins. Because when you start seeing yourself,
the mini victories,
many victories that you have, then those priorities become more important. That means you're going to protect your peace. You're going to protect your vision, your goal, and you're going to protect your destiny.
Yeah.
That's it. So when you empty, you want to now fully fulfill whatever the purpose and destiny that God set. So you set those things in motion. And then as you are trusting Holy Spirit, and it's called one word, faith. As you building on your most holy faith, you trust in the Holy Spirit to guide you. You setting the plan in motion. You setting the goals. You having those many wins, because that's what I had to do.
Yeah.
Then I start seeing the possibilities. See, I got this big idea, but I never knew what to do. But then I said I had to chunk the big ideas and say, what can I do now?
Yeah.
And that very first thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to change my image. I already knew that I was dealing with lupus. I already knew that, they was telling me a little bit about the kidney. I already knew about these little small things. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to change the game I didn't want people to be feeling sorry for me and putting on their ideas of, oh my God, I'll be there for you. So my goal was to look beauty on the outside and not give victory to what was going on the inside. So I started changing my look.
So you change your perspective, and you change the way that you looked on the outside, so you don't feel the way that you look on the outside as the way you feel on the inside. And when you were talking about the plan, it made me think about the fig tree. And I don't know where it's at, but I remember the story where the fig tree produced leaves but no fruit.
Then produce no fruit.
And a lot of times when we are dealing with priorities, we might be doing a whole lot. You might see all these leaves. It might look like you're doing something, but you're not producing any fruit. So you're not actually in alignment with what you're called to do. And it's a cycle where God will give you 4 years, let's say. And you have those 4 years you're supposed to produce. He gives you what you're supposed to be working on. He might give you a vision and say, hey, you're supposed to be a motivational speaker.
Yeah.
You're supposed to write this book.
Yeah.
You're supposed to mentor children, whatever that it is for you. God has given it to you.
That's right. It's already.
And so you have this lifespan that you're supposed to kind of work within to achieve it.
Yes.
And it's like the story of the fig tree. Leaves might be producing, but there's no fruit because you haven't actually done what God has told you to do, because you're putting other people's priorities in front of what he has said and told you to do. So then it comes around. I think the person who was managing the tree says, oh, God, give me 1 more year. This time next year, if it has no fruit, then you can cut it down. And that's what happens in our own personal lives. We're given assignments. And with every assignment, we have a list of priorities that we have to meet in order to achieve that assignment. God will give us grace.
Yes.
If we don't meet it. Let's say he gave me the vision to be a speaker 3 years ago. Let's say this is year number 4. He knocking on the door. What are you doing? So here I am. Okay. Just give me 1 more year to give me 365 days. And I'm going to commit to what I said I was going to do. We have to stop putting our priorities and instructions
and stop making excuses
on the back burner.
There it is. Because oftentimes when we know we missed the mark, we come up with an excuse.
And they might be plausible. They might be like, but an excuse isn't an excuse. And one thing that I learned, and when I learned this, I never looked at excuses the same. Excuses are tools of incompetence that are used to build monuments of nothingness. And those who excel in excuses seldom excel in anything else.
That's it.
And so we have to stop making excuses. So whenever your plan is for your life, it's time to
It's
execute.
time to execute.
Stop compromising your priorities.
Put your priorities in order.
Yes.
We're going to, you already know what I'm about to sit there
Go
and
ahead,
say. When
say
we get
it.
ready to talk about that plan,
Yeah.
we have to plan to prioritize our priorities.
Say it one more time for those
We
who
have to
missed it.
plan to prioritize our priorities. That means everything else, if it's not a priority, it don't fit.
It doesn't fit. And so that's where the power of no comes
That's
into. And I know I've said it before on this show. No is one of the best phrases that I've learned. Like when I learned to say no, because I would take on everything.
Yes.
And I would take on everything for everybody.
That's it.
And within that, I would lose everything that I wanted to do for myself.
And that is key.
Right. And that's where I would have all these leaves, because the leaves were other people's victories, not my own.
And that's key. Other people's victories, but not your own.
Yeah.
Remember, we said celebrate those mini wins. Those mini wins is not somebody else winning.
Nope.
The mini win is that one that you winning. Those mini wins to help you get to that micro win.
Yeah.
That means that's the purpose and the goal that God and planned and intended for you to do, where the position where you need to be at, that's going to help you even the more catapult you to the goal and the destiny where you was sent to be.
Yeah. So, and so with that, it made me even think about this. So often, you get these money back guarantees. We're quick to, if something doesn't work in 30 days, you get your money back. But what happens if you put that on yourself?
That's it.
What happens if you said, okay, in 30 days, I'm putting out a 30-day guarantee.
Yes.
If I, Markia, do not execute XYZ within 30 days, this money had to go back. What would happen if we started guaranteeing ourselves the same way we do a business? When they say, oh, this product should work XYZ, and it doesn't work, so now you want your money back. What happens if we start putting that type of value into on our goals, onto the things that we want to accomplish, and we stop blaming others because it didn't work?
You said it. What would happen?
Yeah. Put your money.
What you say?
Put your money
where your mouth is.
Yeah.
Put your money on it.
Put your money on your priorities.
On you.
Yeah. At the end of the day.
At the end of the day.
We all do these vision boards at the beginning of the year. We all have these goals that we set. So what happens when you put your money on you? And stop blaming someone else.
Stop blaming somebody else.
Because
don't you think you worth it?
Yeah.
Don't you believe
you have to invest in you?
I gotta invest in me, right?
Yeah.
Because when you invest in what you already have, not only is it a guarantee, but what it is, we give even more and far beyond the expectation.
And even with that, I want to speak real quick to what you're doing. So Della has this 50-50 campaign, and I just think it's amazing because she, was a renal patient, and she is a thriver and survivor, but she's putting her money on her. She's betting on herself when it comes down to it. And this is where the priorities, really came into place, because in order for her to launch the nonprofit, in order for her to jump out on faith and start a speaking career and an empowerment career, she had to first go through some things. And it's amazing how God can shift your life, as we were speaking about it earlier. But Della became disciplined in her thoughts and in her thinking, and knowing that because she's an overcomer, because she's an achiever, she can help someone else to get to that point.
My God.
So Della, if you can just speak to the 50-50 campaign and what that's all about, and how you're choosing to save lives the same way that your life was saved.
Well, Marquis, I thank you for allowing me to share this, especially at this time. Even though I have a kidney transplant, that still is a treatment. Kidney transplant is not a cure. It's a treatment. Mm-hmm. So that means everything that I went through when I was on dialysis for close to 11 years, there still is a possibility if this transplant don't maintain, that's exactly where I have to go. So I never take myself out of the mindset of, I thank God for where he brought me from. So when you think about when I was in a chair, I just kept hearing the word live. And it was something that God just kept giving me. He kept saying, you can live your life victorious and empowered. So that was the, what you might say, the foundation of my actual nonprofit organization. But I didn't want to just stop there. I wanted to tell some of my other peers who was just like me. We go through depression, we are saddened, we feel so overwhelmed with a lot of things that happens. But oftentimes there's no sense of encouragement. There's no sense of empowerment. And so for people who just not freshly starting dialysis, trust me, they are overwhelmed. They don't know what to do next. All they're trying to do is trying to even think about what kind of treatment they're going to receive. So what we decided in my organization is not only to give back, but we decided to encourage and to empower. What we are trying to do is provide self-care tote bags to newly diagnosed renal dialysis patients as they're coming in. And what these tote bags is going to consist of is the basic tools that they're going to need to give them a good and a fresh start, and actually a good start. Because I know when I first started, I was told to sit in this chair. I was cold. I didn't know what's going to happen. Nobody comforted me. Nobody welcomed me. It was just there. And so I know what that feeling is all about. And so what we want to do is give somebody a good start, a fresh start, something that's going to help them to be able to adapt to what they're going to do and what the process that they have to go through. So the 50-50 campaign is that we're looking for 50 people to partner with us by making a small donation of $50 to actually bless and to save 100 lives. And what we mean by 100 lives, you heard me say about depression, overwhelm. It's because at that time, for the very first year of my dialysis treatment, I not only didn't want to do my treatment. At that time, I'm just like, look, if this is what I got to go through for the rest of my life, you might as well just let me die.
You didn't want to live.
I didn't want to live. You know, and so just having somebody who was 2 seats down from me, and she was crying out, saying the same thing how I was feeling on the inside, that's what motivated me and empowered me to want to really to do that, to live. So what I want to do is change the game. I want to be able to come in and provide these new patients with these self-care tote bags and allow them to say, hey, there's somebody who cares. There's a person who understands what I'm going through. And then at the same time, they could get a good journey and a good start. Dialysis affects every aspect of your life. So why not give somebody else a chance? You know what they're going through. I understand every challenge of what they're about to go through. So again, we're accepting any donation amount. You can actually go into not only my website, which is www.youcanlive, and live is spelled lyve.com, and make your donation. Any amount is welcome. Or you can also go to my business page, search it through Facebook, and it says You Can Live. The information, even more in detail, is out there on Facebook as well as on my website. And we just admonish you. We are in the month of October. This campaign ends October 31st. So we're hoping to really meet our goal. Currently, right now, we're up to 20 people who blessed us. So we just really missing. We were asking for 50. So we're looking for 30 more. You guys just come in, even whatever. God is good. And I believe by faith that we're going to meet our goal and to be able to accomplish that.
So I love that. I love that the campaign is just asking for 50 people to donate $50 to save 100 lives, and just that impact that it can have. And this was birthed out of Della aligning her priorities, aligning who she is. She went through that priority checklist, identifying who she is. She went through the self-love, loving herself. She went through the renewing of her mind. You heard her speak about how she was suicidal at one point, going through depression. And then she had to see herself on the other side. When you go through lupus, when you go through dialysis, when you go through the things that she has gone through, you have to see yourself on the other side of victory. I don't know what you're going through out there, but you have to see yourself on the other side of it, knowing that you can get through it. And then once you see yourself on the other side, you have to purge of those negative things that have taken place in your life. You have to forgive those people who may have harmed you. You have to practice that. And then you have to have an infilling of something that is good, something that's going to bring you joy, that's going to bring you peace and happiness. And then you have to have your plan. And you do not set your plan aside for somebody else's plan, but you stick to your plan, being intentional about it. And that's one thing I love. We got Kanice Iron. She said, count me in.
Thank you, Kanice. I really appreciate you. Oh my God.
So
thank you.
That's the whole thing about the 50-50 campaign. We want to save 100 lives. It only takes 50 people to do it, giving $50. But right here on IntellectualRadio.com, thank the audience for being intentional, being keen listeners, and just knowing that wherever you're at, you can tune in to IntellectualRadio.com 24/7. That means 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And here we have over 50 intellectual radio shows, and we maintain to feed your brain, so we give you great content that you can take and impart into someone else. So you use it for your lives, and then you use it for someone else's lives.
That's right.
So Della, with this whole priority thing,
Yeah.
as we're kind of coming to a close in a little bit, but as we talk about the priorities, we talk about being disciplined in our thinking.
That's a good word. Discipline in your thinking.
Yes, discipline in the thinking.
Because it does require discipline. Because in reality, you can't be just complacent. It requires discipline. Anytime you, like in your particular case, it required that discipline for you to prepare.
It did.
It required you to eat the right things, to prepare your body, take your body even through some things, even prior to the Chicago Marathon. That means there would be days, I know you probably say, forget this, I ain't going to sign up. You wanted to cancel that. But because of the focus on your goal, because of the fact you saw what you're trying to achieve, you knew that it's going to require you to get down. You're going to require you to put in those plans and those practices to allow you to be able to be victorious in the process. Everything, you guys, is a process, and it requires discipline. Look, if you want to lose 30 pounds, you're not going to be able to lose 30 pounds if you only go to the gym one day a week, and you come home and you still eating your sweetest fish, your gummy worms, you like your fried soul food, you like your fried fish, and you like your barbecue. Why am I saying all those things? Because those are the things that I loved.
Yeah.
And when I wind up having to do dialysis, those are the things
to cut them out.
I had to not only cut them out, I was restricted from eating. So you can imagine what I had to go through. But what I didn't realize, in some sense of the matter, when I did have to get rid of it, I might not like that.
Yeah.
It wound up being better for me.
And you're saying something right there that just made me think. Don't be forced into discipline.
Yep.
Make it a choice to be disciplined.
That is.
Because when you have to be forced into something, you're going to fight it the entire way.
All the way.
But when you choose it, it's easier on you in life.
Yes, it is.
It makes the process easier for you. So when you have those moments of, no, I don't want to do it, you remember your why.
Yes.
You remember why you made the decision to be disciplined.
That's it.
And so I just think that's just so imperative. And then before we close out, and I give my final statements, when it comes to setting these priorities, if our audience didn't hear anything else we said today, what is the key takeaway that they need to take today?
Have the faith to believe and trust in God that you can do exceedingly and abundantly above everything you could ever go through, ask, or even think. There's nothing too hard for the Lord. When you put him first, he's going to put not only you first, but he's going to make those challenges, those situations, those issues, that transformation and that change be better than you can ever imagine. I'm just saying, have faith and trust in God.
I love that. And so as we close, guys, I just want to encourage you on tonight. Examine your life. Examine your priorities. Keep moving forward to achieve the goals that you have set before yourself. You may have to clean house. It might be some people you have to say no to. It might be some things you have to say no to, because you do not want to spread yourself too thin. When it comes to it being all about my prerogative and doing what I want to do, that's the key thing. You do what you want to do. So you got to be disciplined in your thoughts. You have to be disciplined in your thinking. You have to see yourself where you want to be on the other side. And you have to remember that God already gave you the answer. Stop running from it. Sometimes we know the assignment and we're running from it because we think it's too difficult. But as Della said, when you put your trust in the Lord, when you put your trust in God, watch him work in your finances, watch him work in your marriage, watch him work in your family and in your health. So spend the time going after what you want. Spend the time going after what you can see your destiny being. Your priorities will determine your destiny.
That's it.
So stop being a victim and decide to commit. Decide to go for it. Winners win and losers lose. I don't know the science or the mechanics behind it, but that's a fact of life. When you choose to win,
That's
you
it.
will win. And
Yes,
when
you
you have
will.
a defeated mindset, you're set for defeat. So set your priorities. Know that you have to be intentional in life, that nothing doesn't just happen. You have to make it happen. You have to make the sacrifices.
That's it.
So to our audience, we just want to let you know you are capable of doing more than what you can even fathom. Just put your mind to it and let God carry you through it. And with that, I'm your girl, Markia Janae. You are tuned in to Intellectual Radio and you are listening to Soulful Stimulation. Until next time, be blessed. Remember to be authentically you because God created just one you. Whether you're perfectly imperfect, you are great just the way you are.
That's
Set
it.
those priorities. And remember, it's my prerogative.